My name is Delphine Hartford, and I'm 32 years old. 60 days ago, during our annual Thanksgiving gathering with nearly 36 family members present, I watched my parents present my older sister with an extravagant vacation package worth $13,000 while simultaneously handing me a wrinkled $2 lottery slip accompanied by a sardonic grin. "Consider this perfectly suited to where you are in life, Delphine," my mother announced, her words echoing throughout the dining space with deliberate volume for maximum effect. The assembled relatives erupted in laughter, every single one of them. What they couldn't have anticipated was how that insignificant scrap of paper would fundamentally alter the trajectory of my existence. A 9-figure windfall transforms absolutely everything, though perhaps not in the manner you'd predict. Before I share what unfolded, if this narrative resonates with you, please consider showing your support by engaging with this content, but only if you genuinely wish to accompany me through this experience. And share with me your current location, the hour where you are right now. I find genuine pleasure in discovering where my audience connects from across the globe. Let me transport you back 2 months to that Thanksgiving evening, the night when everything started its inevitable collapse. The Hartford family Thanksgiving celebration was invariably an elaborate affair, not in the heartwarming cinematic sense, but rather resembling a theatrical performance where each participant enacted their predetermined character. I arrived at my parents' residence precisely at 5 in the evening, carrying a freshly prepared harvest salad and a cluster of dahlias I had personally cultivated. The blooms displayed a rich wine-colored hue, absolutely perfect for the autumn season. I had devoted 3 full months to their nurturing. My mother pulled open the entrance before my knuckles could contact the wood. "Oh, Delphine." Her gaze flickered toward the floral arrangement, then immediately diverted elsewhere. "Still occupying yourself with botanical pursuits, I observe." From somewhere beyond her, I detected excited shrieking. Serena had made her entrance. Mother rushed past my position, extending her arms wide. "There's my precious girl. Oh, that ensemble is absolutely breathtaking. Is this a recent acquisition?" I remained standing at the threshold, clutching my flowers, observing my mother embrace my sister as though years had separated their last encounter. It had been a fortnight. Within the house, the atmosphere buzzed with extended family members, maternal and paternal aunts and uncles, distant cousins whose faces barely registered recognition. Father occupied his signature leather recliner, engaged in intense discussion with Thaddeus, my sister's husband. He didn't rise upon my arrival, merely a slight nod, his attention never straying from Thaddeus. "Delphine. Excellent. Your presence is noted," Father remarked without breaking his conversational focus with Thaddeus. "We require assistance with table arrangements." Naturally, I had arrived to fulfill duties. The living area had configured itself into a semicircle surrounding Thaddeus, as he elaborated on his most recent real estate consulting transaction. Everyone inclined forward, utterly captivated. My instincts told me otherwise. Thaddeus possessed a duplicitous nature, but concrete evidence eluded me, only intuition. Aunt Beatrice captured my attention from across the space. She offered me a subtle, melancholic smile. Subsequently, while I arranged table linens in solitude within the dining area, my mother introduced me to a remote family connection. "This is Delphine, my younger offspring. She engages in horticultural activities. I believe something involving vegetation. Landscape design and architecture, Mother. I create environmentally integrated spaces for commercial properties." She dismissed the distinction with a hand gesture. "Essentially the same thing, darling." I continued my napkin folding. Certain conflicts lack worthwhile engagement. Not at that moment. Not yet. I was replenishing the water container when their voices reached my ears. The kitchen entrance stood partially open, and conversation drifted through the gap. Mother, Father, Serena. They communicated in that subdued conspiratorial manner families adopt when they believe themselves unobserved. "The ocean voyage departs December 15th, Mother was explaining. 14 days throughout the Caribbean region, the entire family unit. You, Thaddeus, the children, your father and myself, even grandmother Lillian if her health permits attendance." My grip on the container handle became rigid. "What about Delphine?" Serena inquired, not expressing concern. Simply acknowledging my existence as fact. Silence descended. Then Father cleared his respiratory passage. She maintains busy professional obligations. Additionally, an excursion of this nature carries significant expense. We hesitate to create financial burden for her. They hadn't questioned whether my schedule permitted participation. They hadn't inquired about my financial capabilities. They had simply concluded I wasn't worth incorporating. I pushed the entrance open. I'm excluded from the invitation. 3 faces rotated. Mother's smile contracted. Father suddenly developed intense fascination with his coffee vessel. "Sweetheart," Mother initiated, "this voyage celebrates Thaddeus's career advancement. It's genuinely more of a family occasion." I completed her thought. "It doesn't concern you, Delphine," Serena stated, her voice honey-coated. "We simply didn't anticipate your interest. You've always been so self-reliant." Self-reliant? The terminology they employed when signifying outsider. I prepared to formulate a response when I perceived movement behind my position. Grandmother Lillian stood in the corridor, her delicate hand grasping her mobility device. Her eyes connected with mine, penetrating, comprehending, filled with something I couldn't quite interpret. She extended her reach and compressed my hand, articulated nothing. But within that wordlessness, I experienced recognition. "Delphine, assist your grandmother to a seated position," Mother directed, already maneuvering grandmother away. She shouldn't maintain standing for extended periods. Before she vanished around the corridor bend, Grandmother Lillian glanced back toward me. Her lips formed silent words. "Call Winston Clark this week." I didn't comprehend, but I would. Shortly I would understand everything. The dining space fell into silence when Father rose, tapping his wine vessel with eating utensil. "Before we commence our meal, I wish to take a moment expressing gratitude to everyone for their presence." He smiled, the rehearsed smile belonging to a man who had devoted his existence to automobile sales. Family represents everything. 30 individuals nodded in collective agreement. I tallied 30 witnesses to what transpired next. This year, Constance and I desired to accomplish something extraordinary for our daughters. He gestured expansively toward Serena. "Serena, sweetheart, approach here." Serena advanced forward, entirely grace and designer footwear. Mother handed her a substantial envelope, radiating. "For you and Thaddeus and the children. A 14-day Caribbean voyage, premium accommodations." The space erupted. Applause, exclamations of delight. Serena dissolved into tears. The aesthetically pleasing kind. The kind that photographed favorably. "Oh my goodness. Thank you." She threw her arms around both parents. "This exceeds all expectations. $13,000. I had observed the itinerary on Mother's computer the previous month. I wasn't supposed to witness it, but I had. Then Mother rotated toward me. The applause diminished. The space grew hushed. "Delphine, honey, approach here." I walked forward on inflexible limbs. She pressed a slender envelope into my hands. Within resided a single paper slip. A lottery slip. Mega Millions. $2. "This suits your circumstances, dear." Mother's smile didn't achieve her eyes. "Who can predict? Perhaps fortune will discover you." Someone released a mocking sound. Then another person. Thaddeus reclined in his seating, displaying a smirk. Fortune's an improbable outcome when intellectual capability doesn't support it. Laughter rippled throughout the space. Serena covered her mouth, producing giggles. "Oh, that's so adorable, Mother. Perhaps she'll secure $5. I stared at the slip in my hand. My face burned, but somewhere deeper. Something shifted, fractured, liberated itself. I smiled. "Thank you, Mother. I'm certain this will be precisely what I deserve." Nobody noticed the edge in my vocal tone, but I did. The laughter was still resonating when a voice penetrated through. "Harlan, Constance, this is not acceptable." Everyone turned. Grandmother Lillian stood at the space's edge, her diminutive frame trembling with the exertion of standing without her mobility device. Her voice was thin, but it projected. "You cannot treat Delphine in this manner. Not before everyone. Not ever." The silence that followed, possessed different quality from before. Heavier. Uncomfortable. Nobody had anticipated the family matriarch would speak. Father's jaw tightened. "Mother, please, I am not finished." But Mother was already moving, her footwear clicking against the hardwood. She wrapped an arm around Grandmother Lillian with practiced efficiency. "You're exhausted, Mother. Let me escort you to rest." "Constance, I'm not. The physician said you require rest. Come along." I watched powerless as my mother guided my grandmother toward the guest sleeping quarters. Grandmother Lillian looked back at me over her shoulder. Our eyes met. She nodded once deliberately. Then her gaze shifted just slightly toward her aged leather handbag positioned on the armchair by the window, the one she always transported, the one nobody was ever permitted to contact. The entrance closed behind them. The space exhaled. Conversations resumed. The moment passed as though it had never occurred. But I saw Aunt Beatrice observing me from across the space. Her face had paled. She looked as though she wanted to articulate something, then reconsidered. I excused myself to the washroom, secured the door, stared at my reflection. The lottery slip was still crumpled in my fist. $2. That's what they calculated I was worth. But Grandmother had articulated something. Winston Clark, an attorney. Why would my grandmother, who had no litigation, no legal complications, want me to contact an attorney? I didn't know yet, but something communicated to me I was about to discover. It was approaching midnight when I started tidying up alone as customary. Most guests had departed. Serena and Thaddeus had retreated to the living area to strategize their voyage wardrobe. My parents were bidding farewell to the final relatives. I was collecting dishes from Father's study when I saw them. Papers scattered across his desk as though he'd departed hastily. Bills with red overdue stamps. A letter from a collection entity. And beneath it all, a document that made my blood freeze. A loan agreement signed by my father, co-signed by Thaddeus Pierce. $180,000. The interest rate was predatory, the kind you only encounter from people who operate in shadows. My hands were trembling as I flipped to the subsequent page. It was worse. Collateral documents for Grandmother Lillian's house. The house where she'd resided for 5 decades. The house where my mother matured. The house that was supposed to be Grandmother's until she passed. There was her signature. Shaky, uneven, dated from 6 months prior. The identical month she'd fallen and spent 2 weeks hospitalized, medicated heavily on pain medication. They'd made her sign when she wasn't herself. I extracted my phone. My heart was pounding so intensely I could hear it in my ears. I photographed everything, page after page. I didn't know what I would accomplish with these images. I didn't have a strategy, but I understood something now. The favoritism wasn't about affection. It wasn't about Serena being the golden child. I was the threat. I was the one who might pose questions, who might notice things that didn't align. They needed me diminished, silent, invisible. That's why I received a $2 lottery slip. I slipped out the rear entrance. Photos preserved. Mind racing. For the first time in my existence, I wasn't going to maintain silence. 1 week after Thanksgiving, I contacted Aunt Beatrice. She answered on the second ring. "Delphine, Aunt Beatrice, I need to pose a question to you." "What is it, honey?" "Is Father in serious debt?" Silence. Long. Heavy. "You know something, don't you?" I pressed. "How did you discover this?" "I saw papers at the house. A loan agreement with Thaddeus." "Delphine." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Don't discuss this on the phone." "Why not?" "Because there are things you don't know yet about Thaddeus. About your father." My grip tightened on the phone. "What things?" "Not here. Not like this. Meet me Saturday. The coffee establishment on Maple Street. 2 o'clock. Aunt Beatrice, please. And Delphine?" She hesitated. "Don't trust anything Thaddeus communicates to you. He's not who he pretends to be." The line went dead. I sat in my apartment staring at the lottery slip on my kitchen counter. I'd forgotten about it since Thanksgiving. It had been positioned there, crumpled and disregarded, like me. Perhaps it was time to verify the numbers. I pulled up the Mega Millions application, entered the numbers, watched the little loading wheel rotate. The first number matched. My heart skipped. The second number matched. I stopped breathing. Third, fourth, fifth, all 6. I refreshed the application. Same result. I went to the official website. Same numbers, same result. $100 million. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there perfectly motionless for what felt like hours. Then I did the first thing that came to mind. I searched lottery winner, what to do first. And then I remembered Grandmother Lillian's words. Winston Clark. It was time to make that call. I didn't tell anyone. Not a single soul. For 3 days, I walked through my life like a ghost wearing human skin. I went to work, answered emails, smiled at clients, all while carrying a secret worth 9 figures in my pocket. Every time my phone buzzed with a message from Mother or Serena, I felt nothing. The number in my bank account once it cleared would be larger than anything they could imagine. But that wasn't what consumed me. It was the power. Not over them. Over myself. For 32 years, I'd been the invisible one, the afterthought, the gardener. Now I had options they couldn't take away. I didn't call my parents. I didn't call Serena. I didn't post on social media or buy a sports car or do any of the things lottery winners are supposed to do. Instead, I called Winston Clark, Miss Hartford. His voice was warm but professional. Your grandmother said you might reach out. She told me to call you. I don't know why. Perhaps you should come to my office. There are some matters we need to discuss about the lottery. A pause. You've won something. $100 million. Another pause. Longer this time. Then we definitely need to talk. But Miss Hartford, the matters your grandmother wanted me to discuss with you existed before any lottery. They're about her estate and her house. My stomach dropped. What about her house? It's better if I show you in person. Can you come tomorrow? Yes. And Miss Hartford, don't mention this call to anyone in your family. Not yet. I hung up, stared at my reflection in the dark phone screen. The lottery slip had given me money, but Winston Clark was about to give me something far more valuable. The truth. Winston Clark's office smelled like aged books and expensive leather. He was older than I'd expected, early 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. The kind of attorney who still believed in doing things right. Please sit. He gestured to a chair across from his mahogany desk. I sat. What did my grandmother want you to tell me? He slid a folder across the desk. 10 years ago, your grandmother established a trust fund in your name. A trust fund. $500,000. The room tilted. What? I never knew. She wanted it that way. She was afraid. Afraid of what? Winston's expression softened. Afraid your mother would find a way to take it from you. I opened the folder with trembling hands. Legal documents, bank statements. All of it real. There's more, he said gently. The house. Your grandmother's house. I saw the papers. My father used it as collateral. He nodded. The deed was signed 6 months ago, the day after your grandmother was hospitalized. She was on heavy pain medication, barely coherent. I felt sick. That's fraud. Potentially. The signature is shaky. The timeline is suspicious. But proving coercion is difficult without witnesses. She didn't know what she was signing. I don't believe she did. He leaned forward. Miss Hartford, your father owes Thaddeus Pierce $180,000. The house was collateral. If he defaults, Thaddeus gets the property. The pieces clicked into place. The favoritism, the exclusion, the $2 lottery slip. I was never meant to find out. What can I do? With your resources now, you have options. We can challenge the deed. We can pay off the debt and remove the lien. We can protect your grandmother. I looked at the trust fund documents. $500,000 from Grandmother Lillian. $100 million from a crumpled lottery slip. Let's protect her. Okay, let me pause here for just a moment. I know what you're thinking. Delphine, what are you going to do? Are you going to get revenge? But this isn't a revenge story. This is a story about truth. If you want to find out what happens next, let me know in the comments. Have you ever been treated unfairly by your own family? Hit that like button if you're on my side. Now, let me tell you what Aunt Beatrice revealed. The coffee establishment was nearly empty when Aunt Beatrice arrived. She looked different than at Thanksgiving. Older, somehow. Tired. She slid into the booth across from me, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Thank you for meeting me," I said. I should have said something years ago. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "But Constance, you know how she is. Tell me about Thaddeus." Beatrice's hands trembled as she reached for her coffee. "He's not a consultant. Not really. He lends money to desperate people with interest rates that would make a loan shark blush. I suspected something. There's more." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through her gallery. 2 months ago, at your parents' anniversary party, Thaddeus left his phone unlocked on the counter. I wasn't snooping. I was just looking for mine. She turned the screen toward me. Text messages between Thaddeus and someone named Celeste. The words were explicit, romantic, and damning. "Can't wait until this is over. Once the house deal closes, I'm out. What about Serena?" She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. I stared at the screen. He's cheating on her. For 8 months. Celeste is his assistant. Beatrice's eyes welled up. I wanted to tell Serena, but I was scared. "Thaddeus, he's not someone you cross." "Does Serena know?" "I don't think so. She's so wrapped up in being the perfect wife, the perfect daughter. She doesn't see what's right in front of her." I sat back, processing. My sister wasn't my enemy. She was another victim. She just didn't know it yet. "Thank you, Aunt Beatrice." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You did the right thing." She wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry I waited so long, Delphine. I'm so sorry. It's not too late." Not yet. The nursing home smelled like antiseptic and fading flowers. Grandmother Lillian's room was small, but sunny, with windows overlooking a garden that desperately needed professional help. My professional help. She looked smaller than I remembered, frailer, but when I walked in, her eyes lit up with the same sharpness I'd always known. "Delphine." She reached for my hand. "You came?" "Of course I came." I pulled a chair close to her bed. "Grandmother." I talked to Winston Clark. Her grip tightened. "Good. He's a good man." "Why didn't you tell me about the trust?" "Because your mother would have found a way to take it." Her voice was firm despite its weakness. "You were the only one who never asked me for anything. Never expected anything. That's how I knew you were the one who deserved it." Tears burned my eyes. "Grandmother. And the house," she continued. "They made me sign papers. I don't remember it clearly. Everything was foggy. I was in pain." "I know," Winston explained. "We're going to fix it." She studied my face. "There's something else. Something you're not telling me." I hesitated. Then I told her about the lottery. The $100 million. The slip her own daughter had given me as a joke. Grandmother Lillian laughed. Actually laughed. A sound like rustling paper. "Karma," she whispered. "I always believed in karma." "I'm going to buy back your house," I said. "I'm going to make sure you can live there again. Whatever it takes." Her hand found my cheek. "I don't need you to take revenge on anyone, Delphine. I just need you to be free. To protect what matters. I will. Promise me something. Anything. Don't become like them. Don't let the money change who you are." I kissed her forehead. "I promise." Some promises are easy to make. This one I intended to keep. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, the Hartford family gathered again. This time for a bon voyage dinner before the big cruise. I was invited, not as a guest, as help. "Delphine, can you arrange the centerpieces? You're good with plants." "Delphine, the caterer needs direction. Handle that?" "Delphine, make sure Grandmother Lillian's nurse knows we'll be gone for 2 weeks." I did it all with a smile, played my part. The quiet, compliant daughter they expected. No one knew about the lawyers working overtime on my behalf. No one knew about the LLC I'd formed to claim my winnings anonymously. No one knew that in 3 weeks I'd be worth more than everyone in this room combined. The dinner was a parade of self-congratulation. Thaddeus held court, describing the cruise activities. Snorkeling in Barbados, Fine dining at the captain's table. Spa treatments for Serena. Too bad you couldn't join us, Delphine, Serena said, not sounding sorry at all. But someone needs to water Mother's orchids. I don't mind, I smiled. I hope you all have an amazing time. Father clapped Thaddeus on the shoulder. This guy. Best thing that ever happened to this family. Thaddeus caught my eye. His smile didn't reach his pupils. Cold. Calculating. Like he was assessing a business asset. Hey, Delphine? He leaned closer, voice dripping condescension. Buy any more lottery slips. Maybe you'll win $5 next time. The table laughed. I let them. You never know, I said pleasantly. Luck has a way of surprising people. Mother raised her glass. To family. To fortune. To the Hartfords. Everyone drank. I raised my water glass and took a small sip. 12 days. In 12 days, they would be in the middle of the Caribbean, and I would be ready. The morning they left for the cruise, I stayed home. You're not coming to see us off? Mother had asked the night before, her voice carrying that familiar note of accusation disguised as disappointment. I have a client meeting. Big project. She'd sniffed. Always work with you. Always work. As if I had any other choice. As if they'd ever offered me anything else. I spent departure day in Winston's office, finalizing the paperwork for my LLC. The money would clear within the week. After taxes, roughly $62 million. More than enough for what I had planned. I was reviewing documents when my phone buzzed. Serena. Delphine. Something's wrong with Father's credit card. It got declined at the port. Can you transfer $500? I'll pay you back. I stared at the message. The irony was almost too perfect. The first time in my entire life that Serena had asked me for money. I knew why the card was declined. The debt was catching up. Thaddeus wasn't covering it like he'd promised. The house of cards was starting to wobble. I typed back. I don't have $500 to spare right now. Ask Thaddeus. He's the financial consultant. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Never mind. We figured it out. I didn't ask how. I didn't care. What mattered was that they were on that ship now. All of them. Mother, Father, Serena, Thaddeus, trapped in the middle of the ocean for the next 2 weeks. I turned back to Winston. How soon can we file the challenge on the house deed? Monday. Once you're ready to make your move. I looked out his window at the city below. Somewhere out there, a cruise ship was sailing toward the Caribbean, and I was preparing my own kind of voyage. Day 3 of the cruise. I posted a single Instagram story. Just me standing in front of Grandmother Lillian's house. The house that was supposedly no longer hers. The caption was simple. Home renovation project starting soon. I knew Father would see it. He checked social media obsessively. It was his only way of knowing what his daughters were really up to. The same day, the local news ran a story. Mega Millions jackpot claimed. Winner remains anonymous. The slip had been purchased at a convenience store 3 miles from the Hartford family home. I didn't plant that detail. The universe just has a sense of humor sometimes. Aunt Beatrice, bless her heart, mentioned it in the family group chat. Did anyone hear about the lottery winner? Someone from our area won $100 million. They bought the slip at that little Quick Mart on Henderson Avenue. The one where Mother had bought my $2 slip. The chat exploded. Cousins speculating. Uncle Barry making jokes about retirement. Then a private message from Mother. Delphine, that lottery slip I gave you for Thanksgiving. You still have it, right? I waited an hour before responding. Let her sweat. Yes, Mother. I still have it. Why? Just curious. No reason. That emoji. She never used emojis unless she was nervous. An hour later, my phone started buzzing. One call, then another, then another. Mother, Father, Serena, Thaddeus. I let them all go to voicemail. By evening, I had 43 missed calls. By midnight, 79. The messages ranged from casual, "Hey, sweetie, just checking in," to frantic, "Delphine, please call us back. This is urgent." I turned my phone face down on the nightstand. Tomorrow, I would call them. but on my terms, and with an audience. 79 missed calls. I counted them twice to make sure. The voicemails were a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Mother, attempt 1. Delphine, honey, it's Mother. Just wanted to hear your voice. Call me when you get a chance. Mother, attempt 7. Delphine, this is important. Please call back. Mother, attempt 15. I don't know why you're ignoring us. This isn't like you. Father, attempt 3. Delphine, it's your father. We need to talk. Family business. Serena, attempt 5. Delphine? Seriously? What's going on? Mother is freaking out. And then Thaddeus. His voice smooth as ever. Delphine? I think we should discuss some investment opportunities. Family helping family, you know. Give me a call. I sat in my new apartment, a rental I'd secured the week before. Nothing fancy, just mine. And listened to every single message. Let their desperation wash over me like waves. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about the money. I texted Winston Clark. Is everything in place? His reply came immediately. Ready when you are. I opened the family group chat and typed a single message. I'll video call tonight at 8 p.m. EST. Everyone needs to be present. There's something important I need to share. Within seconds, confirmations flooded in. Mother, of course, sweetie. We'll all be there. Father, looking forward to it, kiddo. Serena? Can't wait. Thaddeus sent a thumbs-up emoji. They thought they'd won. They thought I was going to announce my lottery winnings, and then what? Hand them a check? Ask for their guidance? They had no idea what was coming. I spent the rest of the afternoon preparing, organizing documents, rehearsing what I would say. This wasn't revenge. This was truth. And the truth, as they say, shall set you free. At exactly 8 o'clock, I clicked join call. Their faces filled my laptop screen, crowded together in what looked like the ship's lounge. Tropical sunset visible through the windows behind them. Delphine. Mother's voice was sugary sweet. There's our girl. We miss you so much, honey. We really wish you were here with us, Father added. The sincerity was almost convincing. Serena waved from behind them. Hi, sis. You look good. Have you been doing something different with your hair? They'd never once commented on my hair. Thaddeus sat slightly apart, arms crossed, watching me with that calculating gaze. Delphine. Good to see you. Thank you all for making time, I said calmly. I know you're busy enjoying your vacation. Family comes first, Mother declared. Always. Interesting choice of words. So, Father leaned forward. We heard some interesting news. Something about a lottery slip. I didn't flinch. Yes, I won. The silence was deafening. Then everyone spoke at once. Oh my goodness. That's incredible. How much? Delphine, congratulations. I let them exhaust themselves. When the chatter died down, I spoke again. $100 million. Mother's hand flew to her chest. Father's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Serena looked like she might faint. Thaddeus recovered first. Delphine, that's life-changing money. You're going to need help managing that. Investments, tax strategies, asset protection. I have a lawyer, I interrupted. Sure, but a family member who understands finance. Thaddeus. My voice was steady. Before we talk about money, there are some things this family needs to know. His smile flickered. What kind of things? The truth. I shared my screen. Let me show you. The first document appeared. The loan agreement with Thaddeus's signature. And everything changed. This, I said, is a loan agreement between my father and Thaddeus. $180,000 at 32% interest. Father's face went white. Where did you? And this, I continued, clicking to the next document, is the deed to grandmother Lillian's house, signed over as collateral, dated the same week she was hospitalized, barely conscious from pain medication. Mother's mouth opened. No sound came out. That signature is shaky because grandmother didn't know what she was signing. My lawyer has medical records confirming she was heavily medicated. This could be considered fraud. Delphine, this is family business, Father started. I'm not finished. I clicked again. This time, screenshots filled the screen. Text messages between Thaddeus and Celeste. Explicit. Unmistakable. These are messages between Thaddeus and his assistant Celeste. They've been seeing each other for 8 months. Serena's face crumpled. What? Once the house deal closes, I'm out. I read aloud. She served her purpose. Divorce papers are already drafted. That's not. Thaddeus stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. Those are fabricated. She's lying. Am I? I looked directly at my sister. Serena, ask him. Look at his face and ask him. Serena turned to Thaddeus. Her voice was barely a whisper. Thaddeus? He didn't answer. He grabbed his phone and walked out of frame. Mother started crying. Father just sat there, stunned. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. I'm using my money to pay off the loan and clear the lien on grandmother's house. The deed will be transferred back to her, legally protected. None of you will have any claim to it. Delphine, Father pleaded. We're family. Family doesn't steal from 90-year-old women. I kept my voice level. And I'm not done. Okay. I know a lot of you are screaming yes at your screens right now. But hold on. The story isn't over yet. If you've ever dreamed of saying the things I just said to your own family, smash that like button. And if you want to know what happened to Thaddeus next, oh, karma wasn't finished with him, keep watching, because what happened after that call? Even I didn't see it coming. I ended the call before anyone could respond. The last thing I saw was chaos. Serena crying, Mother shouting something I couldn't hear, Father sitting motionless with his head in his hands. Thaddeus was nowhere to be seen. My apartment was silent. Just me and the fading sunset through the window. I'd imagined this moment for weeks. I thought I'd feel triumph, victory, vindication. Instead, I felt hollow, tired, like I'd just run a marathon I hadn't trained for. My phone exploded within seconds. Calls, texts, voicemails. I turned it to silent and set it face down. Then a knock at my door. I tensed. No one knew I'd moved. Through the peephole, I saw Aunt Beatrice. She looked as exhausted as I felt. How did you find me? Winston Clark gave me the address. I hope you don't mind. I let her in. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. You did good, honey. You did what none of us had the courage to do. Did I? My voice cracked. I just destroyed my entire family on a video call. No. She pulled back, holding my shoulders. They destroyed themselves years ago. You just turned on the lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Serena. I didn't know about Thaddeus. I swear I didn't know. I'm so sorry about everything. I need time to think. But I'm sorry. I read it twice. 3 times. What do you think? Beatrice asked. I don't know. I set the phone down. I don't know if she's sincere. I don't know if anything will change. You don't have to decide tonight. She was right. For the first time in 32 years, I had time. I had options. I had freedom. 2 weeks later, Winston Clark called me with good news. It's done, he said. The deed challenge went through faster than expected. With the medical records and the witness testimony from your Aunt Beatrice, the bank agreed to void the original transfer. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. So the house is still technically owned by the bank. Your father defaulted on the loan payments when Thaddeus stopped co-signing. But here's where your money comes in. I'd already made my decision. Pay it off, whatever it costs. It'll be approximately $215,000. Principal plus interest, plus legal fees to transfer the deed cleanly to your grandmother's name. Do it. The money was nothing. A rounding error compared to what I had now. But what it represented, that was everything. There's one more thing, Winston said carefully. I've drafted a protection clause. Once the house is in your grandmother's name, no member of the Hartford family, that includes your parents, can claim any rights to the property. Not during her lifetime and not after. And after she passes, it goes to you, per her original wishes before any of this happened. I thought about that crumpled lottery slip. the mocking smile on my mother's face. $2 to get rid of the inconvenient daughter. One more clause, I said. I want it in writing, that my grandmother can live there for the rest of her life with full-time care if needed, completely paid for, already included. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Winston, thank you. Thank your grandmother, he said. She chose you for a reason. I hung up and immediately called the nursing home. I'm coming to pick up Lily in Hartford. It's time to take her home. Thaddeus tried to control the narrative. Of course he did. The screenshots were photoshopped, he told anyone who would listen. Delphine is mentally unstable. She's jealous of Serena's success. She's trying to tear this family apart. It might have worked. Once. Before social media. Before Celeste. Celeste was apparently not pleased about being abandoned mid-scandal. 3 days after the video call, she went nuclear. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, every platform. Photos of them together. Restaurant receipts, hotel bookings. Intimate messages that made the ones I'd shared look tame. And her own video statement. Mascara-streaked and furious. Thaddeus Pierce is a liar and a fraud, she declared to her 300 followers. A number that multiplied by thousands within hours. He told me he loved me. He told me he was leaving his wife. And now he's trying to pretend I don't exist. Serena filed for divorce before the cruise ship docked. But Celeste wasn't the only one with grievances. Within a week, 2 of Thaddeus's business associates came forward to the state attorney general's office with complaints about predatory lending practices. The interest rates he'd been charging weren't just unethical. They were illegal in 3 states. I didn't lift a finger. I didn't have to. The dominoes fell on their own. Father declared bankruptcy the following month. The car repair shop he'd owned for 30 years. Gone. Liquidated to pay debts that had been accumulating long before I found those papers. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Just a strange, peaceful emptiness. Karma, Grandmother Lillian said when I told her. Sitting in her own living room for the first time in a year. I told you I believed in karma. She squeezed my hand. I squeezed back. Some things don't need words. My mother called me 3 weeks after the video call. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press the green button. Delphine. Her voice sounded like she'd been crying for days. Delphine, you've ruined us. No hello. No how are you. Straight to the accusation. I didn't ruin anything, Mother. I told the truth. The truth? She laughed bitterly. Everyone knows now. Everyone. The neighbors, the church, my book club. I've been going to that book club for 18 years, and now they won't even return my calls. I'm sorry that's happening. Are you? Are you really? Her voice cracked. You had everything. $100 million. You could have helped us. You could have saved your father's business. You could have. I could have covered up fraud. I kept my voice steady. I could have pretended Thaddeus wasn't a cheating predator. I could have let you keep Grandmother's house. We're your family. So is Grandmother. Silence. Mother, I said quietly. I'm not blocking your number. If you ever want to have a real conversation. One where you acknowledge what you did, not just what you lost. I'll be here. But I won't listen to you blame me for consequences you created. You're so cold. When did you become so cold? I learned from the best. She hung up. It was the last time we spoke for 6 months. Father never called at all. I heard through Aunt Beatrice that they'd moved into a small apartment across town. He was working as a mechanic for someone else's shop now. Mother had taken a job at a grocery store. I didn't gloat. I didn't feel vindicated. I just kept living my life, because that was always the point. Not to punish them, but to finally live free. The letter arrived 3 months after the cruise. Not an email. Not a text. A handwritten letter. 2 pages long on pale blue stationery. My sister's looping cursive, which I hadn't seen since she wrote me notes in middle school. Dear Delphine, I don't know how to start this, so I'll just start. I'm sorry. Not because I want money from you. Not because I'm trying to get back on your good side. I'm sorry because I should have said it years ago and I didn't. I knew Thaddeus had problems. I didn't know about Celeste, but I knew something was wrong. I ignored it because admitting it meant admitting my whole life was a lie. I knew Mother and Father treated you unfairly. I told myself it wasn't my business. I told myself you were fine. You were always so independent, so capable. You didn't need me to defend you. That was a coward's excuse. You were my little sister. I should have defended you anyway. The divorce is finalized. I'm starting over. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know it has to be different. You don't have to forgive me. You don't owe me anything. I just wanted you to know. I see you now. I see what I missed for 30 years. I'm so sorry. Love, Serena. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't write back. Not yet. But for the first time, I felt something shift. A door that had been locked for years, creaking open just slightly. We met for coffee the following month. It was awkward, stilted. Neither of us knew how to be sisters anymore. But we were trying, and that was a start. Grandmother Lillian came home in April. I was there when the nursing home transport van pulled into her driveway. The same driveway where I'd skinned my knee learning to ride a bike. The same driveway where she'd stood waving goodbye after every visit, shrinking in the rearview mirror until she disappeared. She was smaller now, frailer. But when the attendant wheeled her up the ramp I'd installed, her eyes found the garden. Overgrown, neglected, but still there. And she smiled. "It needs work," she said. "I'm going to fix it," I promised. That's my specialty, remember? I'd spent the previous month preparing the house. New accessibility features. A hospital bed in the master bedroom. Round-the-clock nursing care on standby. The best of everything money could buy, because for once I had money to spare. We sat in the sunroom that afternoon, watching goldfinches at the feeder I'd installed. "You did all this?" she asked, gesturing at the renovations. "It's your house. It should be comfortable." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Your mother called me last week." I tensed. "What did she say?" "She wanted me to talk to you, to convince you to come back to the family." "What did you tell her?" Grandmother Lillian turned to look at me directly. Her eyes, despite her age, were sharp as ever. "I told her that you never left. That family isn't about showing up for Sunday dinners. It's about showing up when it matters." She reached for my hand. "You showed up, Delphine. When everyone else saw what they could take from me, you saw what you could give." I blinked back tears. "I just did what was right. That's the hardest thing to do. And you did it anyway." We sat together until the sun went down. No more words needed. 1 year later, I barely recognized my own life. I still worked. Not because I needed the money, but because I loved what I did. My landscape architecture firm had expanded. 2 new employees, an office with actual windows, and a waiting list of clients. I'd designed 3 public gardens in the past year alone. The lottery money sat mostly untouched in diversified investments. I'd bought a modest house near Grandmother Lillian. Nothing flashy. Just enough space for me and the dog I'd finally adopted. A rescue mutt named Clover who loved to dig in my test gardens. The foundation was my real legacy. The Lillian Hartford Foundation. Awarded scholarships to young women pursuing careers in the arts. Painting, music, design, anything creative. Women from families who didn't understand them. Women who'd been told their dreams weren't practical. Their talents weren't valuable. Their voices didn't matter. Each acceptance letter I read felt like a small act of defiance. Take that, universe. Take that, every parent who ever said, "But how will you make money?" I visited Grandmother Lillian every day. Some days she was sharp, full of stories about the past. Other days she was tired, and we just sat together in comfortable silence, watching her garden grow. "Your tulips are coming up," I told her one afternoon. "You planted those?" she reminded me. "They're still yours." She smiled. "Everything good I have is because I shared it with people who appreciated it. Remember that." I would. I was living proof of it. The money didn't make me happy. It gave me options. Freedom from other people's expectations. Room to breathe. Happiness came from somewhere else entirely. From work that mattered. From relationships built on truth. from the simple act of being exactly who I was. People ask me about my family sometimes, where they are, if we've reconciled. The honest answer is complicated. My parents live in a small apartment across town. Father works as a mechanic. Mother works at a grocery store. They're stable, but struggling. Not destitute, but nothing like the life they once imagined for themselves. We communicate occasionally. Father sends a text on my birthday. Hope you're well. Love, Father, I respond. Thank you. Hope you're well, too. That's the extent of it. Mother has never apologized. She's called a few times, usually wanting to complain about her circumstances or hint that she could use some help. I listen politely, then change the subject. Sometimes she hangs up in frustration. Sometimes we manage a few minutes of civil conversation before the resentment creeps back in. I'm not ready to let them back in. Maybe I never will be. That's okay. Forgiveness isn't something you owe to people who hurt you. It's something you give yourself when and if you're ready. Serena is different. We've had coffee together 6 times now. Lunch twice. We text occasionally. Not every day, but enough. She's rebuilding her life. New apartment. New job. New therapist helping her understand how she ended up with someone like Thaddeus. We're not close. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But we're trying. I didn't realize how messed up our family was until I got out. She told me last month. I thought that was normal. I thought I was lucky. We both believed what we had to believe to survive. She nodded. Didn't cry for once. Progress. As for Thaddeus, I don't know where he is, and I don't care. Some people don't deserve space in your thoughts. I've made my peace. I'm moving forward. That's enough. People always ask me the same question. Did $100 million change your life? The answer surprises them. No, not really. What changed my life was a moment. A single crystallizing moment when I realized that I had spent 32 years waiting for people to see my value. And they never would. Not because I wasn't valuable, but because they weren't looking. The lottery slip was a gift, not because of what it was worth, but because of what it revealed. The people who should have loved me only cared when they thought I had something they wanted. That revelation was worth more than any jackpot. If you're watching this and you're in a family that doesn't see you, I want you to know something. You don't need $100 million to free yourself. You don't need luck. You don't need permission. You need one decision. To stop letting other people define your worth. Set your boundaries. Walk away from tables where you're only invited to serve. Build your own table if you have to. The money gave me options, but the power was always mine. I just didn't know it until someone handed me a $2 lottery slip with a smirk and thought they'd put me in my place. They put me in my place all right, just not the one they expected. I'm Delphine Hartford, 33 years old, landscape architect, dog mom, granddaughter, philanthropist, and most importantly, I'm a woman who finally chose herself. That's the real jackpot. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've been through something similar, drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. Like and subscribe if this resonated with you. And check the description for more stories like this one. Until next time, know your worth, and don't let anyone hand you less. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end of this journey. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, I see you. Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and I want to hear from you. If this video touched you, please like and subscribe to support the channel. And check the description for the next story. It's waiting for you. Until next time, remember, you are worth more than anyone else's opinion. See you soon.